Hey everyone. So, a few months ago, I did something I had never done before in my life. I went on a cruise, a proper one. 7 nights, Mediterranean Sea, 5 countries, if you count the ones we just passed by from the deck. And I want to talk about it today because, honestly, it was one of those experiences where you go in thinking you know what to expect, and then reality just casually proves you wrong in the best possible way. And also in a few embarrassing ways, but we will get there. So let me start from the beginning. The whole thing started in Barcelona. If you have never been to Barcelona, it is one of those cities that hits you immediately. Warm air, loud streets, beautiful buildings. People eating dinner at 10 at night like that is completely normal, which apparently there it is. I arrived a day early just to explore a little before the cruise started, which I would recommend to anyone. Do not fly in the same morning you board. Give yourself a day. Walk around. Eat something good. Sleep in a real bed. Because the next morning things get very different, very fast. The cruise was with MSC Cruises. The ship was called MSC Bellissima, which in Italian means very beautiful. And I have to say, that name is not wrong. I will get to the ship in a minute. The ticket was around $650 per person for 7 nights. That includes your cabin, all your main meals, and some drinks. What it does not include is the shore excursions. Excursion just means a trip or an outing. Those you pay for separately. Specialty restaurants on the ship also cost extra. And the Wi-Fi, which costs extra and is also not very fast, which is a combination I find very brave of them to charge money for. But $650 for 7 nights, including food, is honestly not bad when you break it down. Less than $100 a day for accommodation and 3 meals in Europe. I have paid more than that for a single hotel night in some cities. So the morning of boarding, I took a taxi to the port in Barcelona, Port Vell, right in the city. And when we pulled up and I saw the ship for the first time, I did that thing where you just stop. I had seen pictures. I genuinely thought I was ready for what I was about to see. I was not ready. The ship was 17 floors high. It had multiple swimming pools, 12 restaurants, a theater that seated hundreds of people, a shopping area, a casino, a spa, a bowling alley. A bowling alley on a ship in the ocean. I stood on the dock looking up at this thing, and my brain just quietly took a moment to process what it was seeing. The man next to me in the boarding line, probably 60-something, very relaxed energy, the kind of guy who brings exactly the right amount of luggage and never looks stressed, glanced over at me and said, "First time?" I said yes. He said, "You'll be fine. Just download the app." Not, "You'll love it." Not, "It's amazing." Just download the app. Which, in hindsight, was the most genuinely useful piece of advice anyone gave me that day. Boarding was smoother than I expected. You show your documents. They check everything. They give you one card. Just one small plastic card. And that card is everything for the next 7 days. Room key. Your identity on the ship. How you pay for anything. You lose that card, and your life becomes complicated immediately. I put mine in the same pocket every single time and checked it was there probably 40 times a day. Then you walk up the gangway. Gangway is just the ramp connecting the dock to the ship. And when you step through that door and you are officially on board for the first time, there is this moment. This slightly strange, slightly exciting moment where you think, okay, this is home now. My cabin was on deck 8, interior cabin, which means no window. I had chosen the cheaper option, and the cheaper option does not come with a view of the ocean. It comes with a view of a wall. The room was small, very small. Bed, bathroom, a little desk, a narrow wardrobe. Cozy is the polite word for it. But here is the thing. I was barely in the room. You are on a ship with 17 floors of things to do and 5 cities to explore. The cabin is just where you sleep. And for sleeping, it was perfectly fine. We left Barcelona at 6 in the evening. And that moment, standing on the deck as the ship slowly pulled away from the dock and the city started getting smaller behind you, that was something. Barcelona from the water, the skyline, the last of the afternoon sun on the buildings, people on the dock getting smaller. There was something about it that felt significant somehow, like the trip was now actually real. The first night was a welcome dinner. Everyone dressed up a little, nothing too formal, and went to the main dining room. And when I say main dining room, I mean a proper restaurant. Big space, round tables, white tablecloths, soft lighting, waiters in uniforms. Much fancier than I was mentally prepared for on what I had been thinking of in my head as essentially a very large boat. I sat at a table with people I had never met. This is normal on cruises. You often share a table with strangers. There was a retired couple from England who were on their 9th cruise and spoke about it the way some people speak about going to their local coffee shop. Very casual, very been there. There was a young woman from Portugal, traveling alone, who turned out to be one of the most interesting people I spoke to the whole trip. And there was a family with 2 small children who were very energetic and not very interested in sitting still, which I respected honestly. The menu was elegant, things described in ways that took a moment to fully decode. There was something called pan-seared sea bass with a saffron reduction and seasonal vegetables, which is a very long way of saying fish with sauce and some vegetables. But it was good. It was genuinely very good, actually. The food on the ship throughout the whole trip was better than I expected. Not every restaurant, the main dining room, and the buffet were included in the ticket price, and those were solid. The specialty restaurants, the ones you pay extra for, were excellent. The waiter came and asked if I wanted still or sparkling water. Still is regular water. Sparkling has bubbles. Simple enough question. I said, "Yes, please." He looked at me. "Still or sparkling, sir?" I said, "The sparkling. The normal one." Sparkling is not the normal one. I know this. I knew this before I sat down at the table. But something about the white tablecloth and the soft lighting and the menu with the saffron reduction just temporarily interrupted something in my brain. The waiter did not react. Completely professional. But the woman from Portugal across the table made a very small sound that was definitely a laugh she caught just in time. The sparkling water came. It had bubbles. I drank it and focused very hard on my bread roll for a moment. First stop was Marseille, France. We arrived early morning and had the day to explore before the ship left in the evening. Marseille is a port city in the south of France. It is loud and colorful and a little rough around the edges in a way that makes it feel real. Not a city that is performing for tourists, just a city being itself. The old port area, called Vieux-Port, is beautiful. Boats everywhere, markets along the waterfront, restaurants with fresh seafood right at the edge of the water. I had mussels for lunch. A huge pot of them with bread and a cold drink and the afternoon sun coming in off the water. For about 12 euros. Still think about that lunch sometimes. From Marseille, we sailed to Genoa in Italy. Genoa is not the most famous Italian city. Most people go straight to Rome or Florence or Venice. But Genoa has something those places sometimes lose under all the tourists. It feels lived in. The old town is a maze of very narrow streets called Carughi, dark and tall, and winding in every direction. You genuinely cannot tell where you are going half the time. But every time you turn a corner, there is something. A tiny bakery, a little church that has been there for 500 years. An old man sitting outside a door reading a newspaper like the rest of the world does not exist. I got lost in those streets for about 2 hours. It was one of the best 2 hours of the trip. Naples was next, and Naples is something else entirely. Loud, chaotic, scooters going everywhere at speeds that suggest traffic laws are more of a suggestion than a rule. Pizza that ruins all other pizza permanently. I am not exaggerating about the pizza. I had a margarita pizza in Naples, the most simple basic version, just tomato and cheese, at a small restaurant that had about 8 tables and a wood oven, and that was it. And it was the best pizza I have ever eaten. I do not say this lightly. Something about the dough, the simplicity, the oven, whatever it is, just completely different. Naples is also the jumping-off point for Pompeii, which is the ancient Roman city that was buried under volcanic ash when Mount Vesuvius erupted in 79 AD. I did a shore excursion there. About 40 euros for a guided tour. And I will say this, no photo, no documentary, nothing prepares you for walking through actual streets of an actual city that has been frozen in time for almost 2,000 years. You see the roads with wheel tracks worn into the stone. You see the houses, the shops, the public spaces. You see the plaster casts of people caught in the moment the ash came. It is the kind of place that makes everything feel very quiet inside you for a while. Last stop was Palermo in Sicily, the southern part of Italy, but feels like its own world entirely. Markets that spill out onto the streets. Street food everywhere. Arancini, which are fried rice balls. Pennelle, which are chickpea fritters. Fresh seafood. Pastries filled with things that should not work but absolutely do. The architecture is a mix of everything. Arab, Norman, Baroque, all layered on top of each other over centuries. The whole city feels like it has a story in every wall. I wandered around for most of the day with no plan, just walking and stopping when something looked interesting. Went into a market called Ballarà that has been running for over 1,000 years. Vendors shouting, smells of fresh fish and spices and frying things, color everywhere, completely alive. I bought some local almonds and a small ceramic thing that I still have no idea what it is exactly, but it looked nice. The sea days, the days when the ship is just sailing with no port stop, those surprised me the most. I thought I would be bored. I am usually someone who needs to be moving, doing something, going somewhere. Sitting still on a ship with nothing around but water did not sound like my kind of thing. But there is something about being completely surrounded by ocean that does something to you. All your normal noise gets quieter. The emails, the things you should be doing, the mental list that is always running in the background. Out there, it all just loses some of its urgency, like it cannot reach you properly. I sat on a deck chair one afternoon with a book and the wind in my face and read for 3 hours without checking my phone once. I genuinely cannot remember the last time I did that before this trip. It felt almost strange at first, and then it felt very good. There were things to do if you wanted. Trivia games, cooking shows, live music, dance classes. I joined a trivia game one afternoon. My team came second to last. We shook hands and went our separate ways and never spoke of it again. On the fifth night, I could not sleep. I went up to the top deck around 2 in the morning. Nobody was there, just the ship moving through the dark water and the sky above. And the sky stopped me completely. No city lights, no buildings, nothing between me and the sky in any direction. Just open ocean and more stars than I have ever seen in my life. Not regular stars. All the stars. Every star that city lights hide, all of them out at once. It looked like something from a photograph, except it was just the actual sky doing what it has always done when nobody is blocking it with light. I stood there for a long time, not thinking about much, just looking up, feeling very small in a way that was not uncomfortable at all. Actually, the opposite. Like something inside me got quieter and cleaner at the same time. I went back to my cabin and slept immediately and deeply. We arrived back in Barcelona on the 7th morning. I packed my bag, walked down the gangway, and stepped onto solid ground. And the ground felt strange. My body had learned the gentle movement of the ship over 7 days and was now looking for it and not finding it. This has a name: sea legs. Your body keeps expecting a motion that is no longer there. It lasts about an hour. You walk around feeling like the ground is slightly uncertain about itself. I sat on a bench outside the terminal. A woman walking past looked at me and smiled. "First cruise?" I said, "Yes." She laughed a little. "It passes. And then you start looking at dates for the next one." She was right. Both parts. So, would I recommend it? Yes. Genuinely yes. The Mediterranean route specifically is hard to beat. 5 cities in 7 days, all meals included, and you only unpack once. That last part sounds small, but it is actually a big deal if you have ever done a trip where you are moving hotels every 2 days. The ticket was around $650. I spent maybe another $200 on shore excursions and extra things. So roughly $850 total for 7 nights in Europe with food. For what you get, that is honestly good value. Just know, the ship is bigger than any picture makes it look. Download the map app immediately and use it without shame. Go outside at night when you are far from land. And if someone asks you still or sparkling, take one breath before you answer. See you in the next one.